Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. It's another paid request, this time from Efree. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, tier lists, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this time I'm reviewing Bloodfist IV, Die Trying. Once again, you have a new director, Paul Ziller, who did not... Each one of these Bloodfist films, they have a different director, but they have the same producer, Roger Corman, the same star, Don the Dragon Wilson. And even though this is Bloodfist 4, has nothing to do with Bloodfist 3 or 2 or 1 or 5, because, like I said, the first two, he plays the same named character, but at the same time, doesn't feel like there's any continuity between the two. Like, those two was Jake, and in one he was Danny. Well, in this he's Danny. In the last one he was Jimmy. And then the one after this he's... I forget what the hell is his name. There's like two names. Mike and someone... Tim, I forget what it was. Anyway... At the very least, so far, the plots is trying to be a bit different, so it doesn't feel like the same movie. So, like, the second film is a little bit Enter the Dragon, where him and these fighters are brought to this island, kidnapped to this island. In the third film, he's in prison, and a little bit of drama. Him and Richard Roundtree dealing with these other prisoners. This one, it's more of him getting in the midst of this whole smorgasbord of these bad guys who are terrorists, who want these nuclear triggers, the FBI, the CIA, crime he didn't commit, he's on the run, trying to prove his innocence, also rescue his kidnapped daughter. So again, at least it doesn't feel like a repeat of the previous films. And this one has some recognizable people in it. You got Gary Daniels, great martial artist, he was in Fist of the North Star. He did some really nice PM Entertainment films. Riot is my favorite with him and Sugar Ray Leonard. He was also in Recoil, Rage. He was in City Hunter with Jackie Chan. It's funny, by this point he's very early in his career, but I think he had already done a film with Don the Dragon Wilson. In the opening credits, his name is not mentioned. Even in the back here is Don the Dragon Wilson, Kat Sassoon, Amanda Weiss. By the way, Kat Sassoon, who plays this lady who works with the villains, who's got some switchblades. I think that's the daughter of the hairstylist Sassoon. So I'm like, wait, the heiress to that fortune? She's acting in this? As a villain? Okay. Amanda Weiss, yes, that is Tina from the first Nightmare on Elm Street film, where Freddy killed her. You see her body go up the wall to the ceiling. That same Amanda Weiss. She plays a friend of someone Don knew, and ultimately they... a little bit of lovey-dovey, but not too much, which I actually appreciate that, so that was kind of refreshing. They do not go overboard on it like some movies would do. You also have James Tolkien, this guy here. I know that's not much of a picture, but if you remember Back to the Future, you've seen this guy. He was Strickland, the principal. He was also the cop in Masters of the Universe, blowing up, shooting people with a shotgun at the end of that He-Man movie. But I think most people remember him as Strickland, the principal in Back to the Future films. He plays an FBI agent, and he's not a bad guy, which is nice to see. Although, to be honest, he wasn't a bad guy in Master Universe either, so... I always liked him. I thought he was a good character actor. Now, the gist of the plot... I liked this one, before I get into that. I actually did like this one. I thought... this was a fun, entertaining time. I put this above the first one. This and the third film was kind of finding out. I probably put the third one a little bit above this, but the third one's a little bit more serious I don't know if I want to say gritty. This one's a little bit more, I don't know if I want to say lighthearted, but a little bit more try to go for these twists and turns. Some that did catch me off guard. That's kind of the fun of it. I like that Don played a repo guy. It's just not the typical. I think the only one I could think of is Scott Adkins was the Debt Collector movies. Not many times you hear Odysee play a repo man. And he repossesses cars. It starts off at the beginning where he's repossessing this car. And the guy beating him up, "You can't take my car," is Judo Gene LaBelle. Yes. As it says here, Gene LaBelle, because once again it does those to the opening credits. If you have some kind of title to you, it's part of your opening credits. So, for example, Caroline Romano, I can't pronounce your name. Women's National Taekwondo Champion. Gene LaBelle, AAU National Judo Champion. He's a guy that you always heard the story of. He choked out Steve Seagal and Steve Seagal shit his pants. From what I understand, that's not true. Maybe he put him in a hold and Seagal couldn't get out of it, but I don't think the shit in the pants stuff happened. I wish it did, because I could laugh at Seagal more, but I don't think that really happened. That was also when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, is, oh, Bruce Lee. You know, that whole film, how they portrayed Bruce Lee, and then there was this talk of, well, Gene LaBelle, Bruce Lee didn't get along, which was not true. In fact, the story was, there's a point where Gene LaBelle got on Bruce Lee's back, and Bruce Lee's like, when you get off my back, I'll kick your ass. And then Gene LaBelle said, well, I guess that means I shouldn't get off your back. And they both laughed, and they became good friends. In fact, Bruce Lee went to Gene LaBelle to learn a bit about wrestling, judo, grappling, because Bruce Lee wanted to learn. So it's a funny bit, because you have this big, overweight guy, but it's like, okay, he's Gene LaBelle, so give him a few moves to use on and beat up Don a little bit before Don gets to come back. So because I knew who it was, I got some fun and chuckles out of that. But he has a daughter, gets along well with his daughter, so it's not a deadbeat dad type of scenario, which I appreciate. He said, no, I don't steal cars, I repossess them. He goes back to his workshop. There's this girl, this lady you could tell has a bit of the, Carla, has a little bit of the hots for him, but he doesn't want to be involved. The boss, I recognize the guy, the boss, it's LaMotta. I forget if it's John or Jake, but it's LaMotta. I always remember him as the neighbor, Mr. Ockbonnet from the TV show Elf. He was also in the first American Ninja movie. He's in this as the boss. And the rapport between the two is felt okay. They've known each other for a while, and didn't mind the environment they showcase in it. How the characters kind of had a little banter with each other. Well, Don goes to get this next car, and it belongs to Gary Daniels. And Gary Daniels like, I give you 3 seconds, you get the hell out of here. They get into a little fight. I do wish the fights were longer, and sadly there's only 2 fights. This one's a little fight. It's a minute or 2 long. They show a little bit of their skills. There's a point where they both kick each other at the same time. They both go down. But it's Gary Daniels, so I'm sitting there going, wishing it was longer, more elaborate. And they do have a second fight, which is a bit more to it than the first one, but that has some wanty editing and really overuse of slow motion. So that's one nitpick and flaw I have with the film, is I think Gary Daniels was very underutilized. Should have been utilized a lot more. Should have been the main henchman villain in retrospect. Which I'll get to that in a bit. But anyway, he repossesses the car, comes back, goes to get food. Gary Daniels and these other baddies they get in there. The head bad guy says, "Hey, we want the car. No, you can't have it." They shoot the shit out of everybody. Nice practical blood squibs. Don gets back, realizes everybody's dead. What the hell happened? Tries to call for help. These two people come up and go, "What the hell? How the hell did you guys get here so fast?" Thinks something's up. Fights those two guys. Goes back to his house, who he thinks is the babysitter. And see, this is one spoiler alert. This is one twist I didn't see coming. Maybe I feel stupid for not seeing it coming, but I'm like, okay, he comes home, there's the babysitter. Okay, he's going to find out that Carla or his little girl's been kidnapped, or Carla's in trouble. He's going to rush out. No, instead, it's attack of the psycho babysitter. Because the babysitter starts trying to kill him. As the other babysitter falls out of the fucking closet and is dead. I'm like, oh shit. I didn't see that coming. Bloodfist V tried to do a lot of twists as well. That one seems more convoluted and less fun. This one, you could also say convoluted, but it just felt more quirky, more fun, maybe a bit more goofy, just more entertaining to me. Like I said, Attack of the Killer Babysitter, who happens to be played by the daughter. I think that's her. Or is it the other girl, the women's national taekwondo champion? Oh, was that her? If that's so, then who was Kat Sassoon? Is that Carla? I have to look this up now. Sorry. Now I'm getting confused as to who was who. I apologize, I have to look that up. Maybe that was Carla. Maybe this was the girl that liked Don. Have to look that up. Because I can't think of I can only think of one lady that tried to beat up Don. And can't think of anybody else, so have to look that up. But anyway, it's one of those films that it's a very short movie, hour 20-some minutes, and it doesn't go more than like 5 or 10 minutes before there's another fight happening. And maybe it's not as stylish compared to Jean Van Damme or as bone-breaking brutal as early Steven Seagal, but it's still fairly competent and, you know, gets the job done. Like, it's one of those films that it's an easy watch for a guy like me. It's like, okay, I like Don. The plot's going at a fast enough pace for me to wonder what the hell's going on, what the hell twist is going to happen next. Let's see, let me look at... No, it's Kat Sassoon, who's the bad girl. Well, who's the fighter? Caroline. Who's that? There's Lisa. John LaMotta, by the way, was the guy I was thinking of that was an elf. He was the boss. That's right, I cannot find them on this cast list. Sorry, folks. Caroline. That's so weird. I'm looking through the list. It says on the back here for Bloodfist IV, Caroline Raimondi, Women's National Taekwondo Champion. But I'm not even finding her in the cast list on IMDb, so that's why I'm confused. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck the deal was that. So sorry about that, folks. Damn thing confused me. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that tangent. So, one leads to another, finds out his friend Carla's been killed, and that's where her other friend, played by Amanda Weiss, shows up. By this point, Don doesn't know who to trust, which I don't blame him. This is like, you know, the babysitter tried to fucking kill me. All my friends that worked at the repo place is dead. These guys who say they're cops killed Carla. Who the fuck do I trust? And Amanda Weiss, they tried to give her some quirks where she's a vegetarian and other stuff. And like she tries to give him food. He's like, nah, that's okay, I'm not hungry. Anyway. And okay, this is the quirky stuff. The big plot MacGuffin is nuclear triggers hidden in chocolate bunnies. So, there are times where it's like the bad guys are saying, give us the candy and maybe you'll see your daughter. And I'm like, they didn't realize that how goofy like it's South of villains. It's, yeah, how bad guys just adamant to want their candy and want their chocolate. Well, I mean, chocolate poontang pie is pretty good, but I'm just saying. But I will say, like, unintentionally, it did make me entertained. I'll give you that. It didn't make me bored. And, like, you have this one lady who's, like, a cop, but she's, like, an overweight cop, and I swear, anytime they're somewhere, she's always got to have something to eat. At one point, she gets a pizza ordered, and another, it's, like, other food. I'm like, really? It's a female officer, not a male officer. That makes it a bit different, but it's still, if you're fat, you need food, I guess. James Tolkien enters there because he's the FBI guy, but he's a guy who's on the up and up. There's a bit where the FBI get to Don, and Don doesn't know who they are, so he's fighting them, but then they overtake them, and they explain what's going on, that these nuclear triggers, and these are bad guys who works for arms merchants, try to smuggle these things out. These are in the bit where later on he wants to get his daughter out, so he goes to his warehouse and he fights Gary Daniels, and you have this big industrial fan that would probably be used in 50, 80s music videos, was used, or left over from Blade Runner for all I fucking know. And he's fighting Gary Daniels, and like I said, the fight's a bit longer than the first one, but there's a bit wanty slow motion, and not just that, what I said, the editing, like it'll go from Don to Gary, then it'll cut to the fan. And then, like, if Don hits Gary Daniels, it cuts to, I guess, maybe his point of view, like the camera's throwing here, or, oh yeah, cut to the fan. I'm like, this is not a three-way. The fan is not a character. Stop cutting to the fucking fan. Stop having more, these guys know how to work. They're martial artists. Have more wide shots and less slow motion. Have them really go fast and furious. Back and forth. You tell me that these guys, they can do it? They're in the prime of their lives, prime martial artists. They even, in real life, you can find on YouTube, they did an exhibition fight. You can find it, Gary Daniels and Don the Dragon, they did an exhibition fight in real life. So they know how to handle this stuff. That's a fight that's the weakest part of the movie for me, is that should have been a lot more, bigger, well edited, better choreographed. I would say that's the most disappointing part, is that again, Gary Daniels is like really two scenes, and I think it could have been used a lot more. But the plot with its twists and turns, I mean, spoilers, these are the bit where they got some of the bad guys, and you have those two FBI guys that we saw at the beginning that tried to get Don at the shop. Oh, we're really FBI guys. Oh my god, the bad guys are overtaking us and shoot us, but we're still alive, because apparently those guns have blanks in it. But I guess, yeah, the bad guys didn't know that, and that's why later on they try to shoot, and they don't realize that it's blanks, thus Don the Dragon Wilson gets the drop on these bad guys. Because I'm thinking, why the fuck don't the bad guys know they have blanks? Oh, because those guys, those FBI guys, they're not really FBI. You find out they're CIA. So there's all these twists and turns, and But I will say in this one, it did make me entertained and like, fuck, what's going to happen next? While in the fifth one is more annoying, and to me that one is trying to be more Bourne Identity, but also a little bit of Total Recall, which I'll get to that when I talk about Bloodfist V. And I realized who one of the fake FBI, really CIA guys were. It was Dan Martin. He was the deputy in Sleepwalkers. Stephen King's Sleepwalkers. He was the guy who got killed, and his cat became the arch enemy of the Sleepwalkers and helped the teenage girl. And then you had that ending with the Enya. The only three things I remember is a cat getting revenge for his owner's death, which, I mean, being a cat person, that appealed to me. Someone got killed with a corn cob in the head. And, well, four things. Mark Hamill has a cameo at the beginning, and Anya has a son at the end. I think it's Anya. I believe so. So, I'm always that guy from Sleepwalkers. He's in this. Now, it's not a big explosive ending. It's kind of a bit of a mundane ending compared to what we've seen before. Last, I'll say spoilers, I promise. Pretty much, Dawn is fighting these guys in this restaurant. They grab him. Well, actually, no. No, I'm thinking of the fifth one. Sorry. That's the fifth one. Anyway, Dawn, Amanda Weiss. No, wait. What was it? No, it was. Oh, God, I'm trying to remember. Oh, fuck. Now I'm so confused between 4 and 5. Because 5 almost has this very similar plot to this movie, but I thought this film was more fun. It just felt more faster paced, more kind of goofy but entertaining. But it's like he's fighting these bad guys. They don't realize his blanks. Don fights them. He's getting beat up by the daughter of Sassoon. You know, here Cat Sassoon. And he finally knocks her out. Throws a knife at the bad guy. And then there's two asshole CIA guys. Well, you know, we're working undercover. Just remember, we're not here. It does have my favorite line in the movie. As Don puts it, well, if you're not really here, then you won't feel this. And he punches and knocks it the fuck out. I love lines like that. I love it. Well, if you're not really here, then you can't feel this. So I stuff like that I'm entertained. And he saves his daughter and everything's fine and dandy, and he's just a regular guy, repo man, who's in this shit situation. He did a bit of backstory that he doesn't trust cops because years ago a drunk driver hit his car, and I forget if they killed his wife or no, but they hit his car, but the cops stuck up for the drunk cop, and they got mad at him and arrested him when he did nothing wrong. They just want to save their buddy's career. So Don's like, what the fuck, and fighting them, and then they arrest him for nothing. So that backstory I thought was actually not too bad. Made me understand the character a bit more. Like I say, if you had, like, right then and there would have been a proper... If you... Okay, let's say you have that wonky fight. I think it could be edited better in the fan. Right, with the fan, right? He throws the knife at the bad guy. But then all of a sudden, here comes Gary Daniels, and finally you get the one big, long fight in this big room, and they're going back and forth. It's like, okay, you guys go at it, and show what you do in your talent, your speed, your technique. That would have been even better for an ending. And then you have the asshole CIA guys and have that great line. But so I like some of the supporting actors like James Tolkien. It's nice to see Gary Daniels in there, even though I think he's a bit underused. The film was ever boring. Interesting to see Amanda Weiss there, because I only remember from Elm Street 1 And she was also in this film called Shakma that I did like. And I see people like Jean LaBelle and, again, John LaMotta in there. I like the setup that he's just a regular repo guy and just fuck, it sets a bad luck to happen to him, so it made me feel sorry for the character. Him rescuing his daughter, simple goal in a lot of movies, but something that you could get behind with the character. And plentiful fight scenes. Nothing remarkable in the fight scenes, nothing memorable, but they're competent enough, and it's one of those type of films you did back in the day. You did action for your rental, and maybe you won't remember it in a month from now, but you know what? I had a fun enough time, and I wouldn't mind watching it again one day. Same with these other ones. So overall, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later.